The political panel all-stars up shortly, whānau. But first, this week's one-on-one in 10 with the co-leader of the Green Party, Marama Davidson. Kia ora, comrade. Welcome to the show, and thank you for being available to the Fourth Estate. Your democracy is grateful.
Thank you for having me.
Marama, Iran's only red line was not to kill the Ayatollah. Donald Trump and Israel's opening move after bombing a girls' school, killing 170, was to kill their Ayatollah. How badly has Trump blundered here?
I think we really have to take it back to some basics of what sort of a world are we living in when powerful men from the safety of their war rooms are playing these games which have a real violent, chaotic impact and generational on real people's lives, real people in different parts of the world that are affected right now who did not have any say over this decision. And then it becomes a game of power to play. And it becomes a way to distract from other political issues that are going on. I think we really have to get back to the crux of the issue here. We are talking about the lives of innocent and civilians in parts of the world because of power mongering and power hunger. And the fact that we have not had a prime minister who is even willing to acknowledge where was the preemptive imminent threat of danger? Where was the talk with the Security Council, who's not even willing to acknowledge that this has been deemed by international foreign policy scholars already as illegal? What does it mean when we cannot hold on to the threads of upholding some sort of international legal framework and collective understanding that we maybe won't go and just bomb countries because we don't happen to like their leader? What will become of our world, and how safe does that leave us in Aotearoa?
Trump and Israel replaced an old Ayatollah with a much more hardline and younger Ayatollah. They killed his dad, his son, his brother, and his wife. I'm no PhD student in psychology, but he's not likely to help Trump get out of the trap he's put himself in, is he?
If we were to even see a ceasefire, say, tomorrow, even if that was to be the case, Bomber, wherever in the world before in history have we not seen ongoing intergenerational impacts?
Right.
Where has this not led to further radicalization, further escalation for generations to come? So we've also got to think about what is actually going to happen here, even if we were to see a ceasefire tomorrow, which is not looking likely. And it's also, even if there was a ceasefire tomorrow, does not unbundle the absolute mess that we've got ourselves in for the Hormuz Strait either.
Right. I want to congratulate you, Marama, and the Greens for actually providing a blueprint for helping whānau through this fuel price shock. Your package includes, and I want to go through the whole lot, making public transport free for users, a relief payment for low-income people or people who live rural to help meet additional transport costs, a windfall profits tax to prevent corporate price gouging, reversing changes to school buses eligibility and routes, and temporary expansion of eligibility for school buses, reversing the government's intended reduction in total mobility support for disabled people, and increase mileage rates to the 23,000 care and support workers to meet their actual travel costs. Congratulations. That is what political leadership looks like. Has the government stepped up with their tax credit that leaves beneficiaries out?
I want to acknowledge that there are families and people who will absolutely be relieved and grateful for the announcement today.
No question.
And I am grateful for them. I am grateful for them as well. But oh my goodness, they left out the people who are struggling the most, Bomber.
Right.
They've left out people not in paid employment when this government has actively created tens of thousands more people to be unemployed.
Yeah.
They've left out all the children. This is what I really want to highlight, if nothing else ever. They have chosen what children are worthy of support through this crisis.
Yes.
And they have completely dehumanized and undermined the contribution and value of all the other children whose parents and whānau are actually already struggling the most.
That's right.
They have chosen to leave out retirees.
Yes.
They have chosen to leave out care workers, people, also disabled people on supported living payments.
Yes. Yeah.
We said in our proposal to the Prime Minister, have our 15 votes, have them.
Yes.
So that you have got nothing standing in the way of you bringing relief immediately to the people who need it the most, and also ensuring that public transport is free for users was not just good for the pocket, good for the environment, obviously, but was to help us reduce the demand
Yes.
on petrol and
Yes.
diesel,
Yes.
leaving it for the people who really need it the most. On our way to building more energy resilience that does not leave us up the duff
Yes.
when something is happening in the Hormuz Strait or anywhere else in the world.
If beneficiaries can't afford petrol to go to a job interview, will they get sanctioned?
We have actually asked that all sanctions are removed during this fuel crisis. Well, we opposed them in the first place, Bomber. You can't be surprised by that.
Preach.
But
it's
and
what they say. What did they say to that? Why did they say to that?
They haven't said anything, but of course they don't support that. But why are we continuing? People are doing it so tough, Bomber.
Yeah.
Manurewa,
Yes.
I rode past on my bike 2 Thursdays in a row, long stretches of cars lined up both sides of Takanini Gull,
Yep.
desperate to
Yes.
save any dollar that they possibly could.
Yes.
But people were already doing it tough, including made worse, highest unemployment in 10 years, highest amount of children living in material hardship in 10 years,
Yes.
by the decisions that this government has made. And then this government is also leaving them out further by the announcement that they made. There's no need for it. We have enough. We have not properly tapped into the wealth in this country.
Yes.
So this government and actually successive governments have chosen to keep that wealth concentrated, which has inflicted more hardship for the rest.
This government have built an election narrative that we are going through economic hardship because of Labour's COVID spending, despite this government borrowing more. This criticism has hamstrung them from any meaningful leadership, because if they do step in, they undermine the core talking point of the election campaign. Is this political paralysis acceptable?
They've undermined their own fiscal handcuffs, that they have got their hands stuck behind their back because of an arbitrary goals. The Greens did a fiscal policy. You want to talk about leadership and solutions? We've done an entire fiscal policy.
Yes, you
fiscal,
have.
what the hell does that mean to people? It doesn't mean anything to the people on our streets, Bomber. But what the people have been telling us is, why do we feel like we are being gaslit? Things are getting tougher for us. We're doing our best.
Yeah.
Some of us are employed.
Yeah.
We're doing our best, but we are being told to tighten our belts when we have seen this government prioritize billions to corporates. Why do we feel gaslit? That's what we're hearing around the country.
This government have not even criticised Donald Trump or Israel for this illegal war. They have only criticised Iran for responding to it. Why should poor people in New Zealand pay for an illegal war in Iran that they had no hand in making?
They shouldn't. They shouldn't. And what they should be demanding, and are demanding from this government, is that it invest in our own resilience. And that includes investing when communities and whānau have what they need to live good lives. That needs to be understood as an intergenerational investment.
Right.
A moral investment, yes, but also a bloody fiscal one at that.
Yes.
In fact, an economically, fiscally saving investment.
Yeah.
And so people are saying, look, we are not in control of what happens in the Middle East, in the Hormuz Strait, on Trump's Twitter. We are not in control of, whatever mood or distraction that president wants to create.
Yeah.
But what this government can be and should be in control of is investing in the intergenerational resilience, which means strong public services, which means prioritising ending poverty and homelessness, which we absolutely can do.
EV subsidies? EV subsidies?
Oh, how about they gutted and tanked the EV market and then said, well, we'll put up a few more charges. Still nowhere near the original amount of charges that they had agreed to in their coalition agreement.
They said they'll do 10,000. Now, it's 2,000. 2,000, right?
But they tanked the EV market first.
Yes.
Clean car discount, clean car standards. Imagine if we had in place, and some more cycle lanes for Simon.
Right.
Imagine if we had in place right now the infrastructure for people to be able to choose other forms of transport, other modes of energy use. And, the best time to have listened to the Greens and our visions and solutions would have been 30 years ago.
Amen.
The second best time is now.
We are seeing an enormous amount of social damage as the economy continues to flatline with 0.2% GDP when the Reserve Bank was forecasting 0.5. We saw food inflation at 4.5 and meat spiking to 7.5. Many whānau were just holding on by their fingernails with the cost of living crisis. How are they going to handle this fuel inflation?
They're not. And you're talking about those increases in prices of ordinary things for whānau, right? And I just want to acknowledge the legacy of one Brooke Van Velden today, who took to Cabinet and asked for advice about a 0% wage increase.
Wow.
She asked for advice, despite inflation, for a 0% wage increase for workers. The answer to your question, Bomber, is they are not, and they have not been managing. So in my Manurewa streets just this weekend, we had a rally organised against the Move On orders, which are criminalising homelessness, of which this government made worse.
Yes.
I was talking to a mother who was in between couches and car parks with her partner and their children. She said to me, we've been kicked off the public housing list because there's not enough, but we cannot find anything affordable to rent in the private market. What on earth are they supposed to do when this government has gutted the public housing program? So how are they going to manage? We are going to see more generational harm that morally will absolutely gut particular groups of people: Māori, Pacific, disabled, young people, rainbow people, low-income people, low-paid workers, and so on.
Yep.
Bomber, if there's one thing, however, with all of this, because the people know this is just me observing what the people are telling us. But the good news is it's in the people's hands collectively to not just get rid of a cruel, inhumane government, but to put in place one that honours equity, te tiriti, puts the well-being of people and communities ahead of corporate profit, puts the well-being of our living systems that we deny on ahead of corporate profit, and that power is in the hands of the people.
So much Aotearoa for you. Finally, Marama, the most recent climate report this week finds Earth's energy has moved dangerously out of balance, with oceans absorbing vast majority of trapped heat. The last 11 years have been the hottest on record. Mathematically, that's so insane. And the kicker is that we are currently in the La Nina cooling phase, and El Nino, the heating phase, begins next year. Has this government prepared us for what's coming?
With an LNG terminal costing $1 billion that will lock us further into, our reliance on fossil fuels, with significant roading projects that are really, really bloody expensive and offer little quality and certainly do not resolve decongestion. I think the answers are staring the communities in the face. And by the way, Martyn, when people say the Greens talk too much about war, I just want to remind people that also happens to be one of the most climate polluting, environmentally destructive activities that we can ever see on this planet.
Preach. Thank you, comrade. We will see you again on the show soon. Much Aotearoa, Marama. Thank you.
Thank you.